The stars shone brightly against the black void of space as the Confederation diplomatic vessel, Starlight Emissary, glided along the outer boundary of the Sol system. The ship's sleek, silver hull reflected the distant light of Earth's sun, a star that had once been the center of so much interest and then, for the past 250 years, so much mystery. Commander Lily Hudson stood on the bridge, her tall frame silhouetted against the large viewing screen that displayed the quarantine zone ahead. Her dark hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her blue uniform bore the silver insignia of the Galactic Confederation's diplomatic corps. She had been patrolling this sector for 5 years, but this was just another routine mission, or so, she thought. Another quiet day at the edge of nowhere, said First Officer Ben Adams, a stocky man with a neatly trimmed beard. He handed Lily a tablet with the daily reports. This nowhere used to be the home of one of the most curious species in the galaxy, Lily replied, her eyes scanning the reports. Sometimes I wonder what happened to them. The Galactic Confederation, made up of 17 advanced species, had first contacted Earth in 2238. The initial meetings had gone well, but 2 years later, all communications from the planet suddenly stopped. Ships sent to investigate found no signs of war or disaster, but they were firmly turned away at the system's edge by automated defense systems. After multiple failed attempts at contact, the Confederation had declared Sol system a quarantine zone. That was 250 years ago. Most believed that humans had either destroyed themselves or retreated into some kind of cultural isolation. Either way, the species had become little more than a historical footnote in Confederation records. Lily handed the tablet back to Ben. Let's finish the patrol and head back to Commander! The voice of Communications Officer Calthor, a tall, green-skinned Viridian with large black eyes, cut through the quiet bridge. I'm picking up a transmission. From Earth. The bridge fell silent. 6 different species represented on the command deck, and not one made a sound. That's impossible, Ben finally said. There hasn't been a peep from Earth in 250 years. Put it on speakers, Lily ordered, her heart beating faster. A clear, calm voice filled the bridge. Attention all vessels. This is Earth Central Command. The quarantine is lifted. Representatives are welcome. Coordinates for approved landing follow. The message repeated, followed by a string of numbers. Is this some kind of joke? Ben asked, looking around the bridge. Lily shook her head. Verify the source. Calthor's long fingers moved quickly over his console. Verified, Commander, it's coming from Earth itself, and the message is being broadcast on all frequencies, in perfect galactic standard. Send a response, Lily said, after a moment. Tell them we received their message and we'll relay it to Confederation Command. Within hours, the Confederation Council was in emergency session. The return of humanity to galactic affairs was not something anyone had expected. After much debate, they decided to send a small delegation to Earth, led by Commander Hudson, since her ship had received the first contact. 3 days later, the Starlight Emissary approached Earth with a delegation of 12 representatives, including specialists in diplomacy, science, and security. As they entered Earth's atmosphere, Lily stood transfixed by what she saw below. Earth was not the primitive or damaged world many had imagined. Instead, gleaming cities stretched across continents. Massive orbital rings circled the planet, connected to the surface by what looked like elevator structures reaching into space. Strange energy patterns were visible even to the naked eye, surrounding the planet like a protective web. Those structures, said Science Officer Mira Lopez, her voice filled with wonder. They're unlike anything in Confederation space. Those energy patterns, I don't even know how to classify them. The ship landed at the designated coordinates, a large platform outside a massive silver building that seemed to flow like liquid metal, frozen in time. As the delegation prepared to disembark, Security Chief Greg Wilson checked his scanner one last time. No weapons detected, he reported. But there's energy everywhere. It's like the whole place is alive somehow. Lily nodded, smoothing down her diplomatic uniform. Remember the protocols. We represent the Confederation. Be respectful but cautious. The landing ramp lowered with a soft hiss, and the delegation stepped onto Earth for the first time in Confederation history. A small group of humans waited for them. At the front stood a man of average height with short brown hair and clear green eyes. He wore a simple gray outfit that seemed to shift slightly with his movements as if it were part of him. "Welcome to Earth," he said with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "I am Alan Morris, Earth Central Command's liaison to Off-World. Visitors, we've been expecting you." Lily stepped forward. "Commander Lily Hudson of the Galactic Confederation. We are honored to be welcomed to Earth after so long." Alan nodded and gestured toward the building behind him. "Please follow me. Refreshments and accommodations have been prepared." As they walked, Lily studied their surroundings. Everything seemed clean, efficient, and strangely perfect. There were no visible seams in the structures, no signs of wear or repair. It was as if the entire complex had grown rather than been built. Inside, they were led to a large circular room with a table that appeared to be made of the same flowing metal as the building. Windows looked out over a vast city, where people moved about their business and strange vehicles glided silently through the air. "Before we begin formal discussions," Alan said once they were seated, "I'm sure you have questions." "Why now?" Lily asked, voicing the question that had been on everyone's mind since receiving the message. "Why break your silence after 250 years?" Alan's expression remained calm. "A simple question with a complex answer, Commander. The short version is that we needed time." "Time for what?" asked Mira. "To become what we needed to be," Alan replied. "After our first contact with the Confederation, we realized how unprepared we were for galactic society. Rather than enter as the weakest species, we chose to step back and develop on our own terms." Greg leaned forward. "Your defenses kept everyone out for 250 years. That's some development." Alan smiled again, this time with a hint of genuine amusement. "That was just the beginning. What you see around you now, our cities, our technology, this is the result of our period of isolation." "And there was never any disaster?" Lily asked. "No war or plague that the Confederation could have helped with?" "No," Alan said simply. "Just a collective decision to grow on our own." A woman entered the room then, tall with shoulder length, red hair and eyes that seemed to change color as she moved. She wore the same type of gray outfit as Alan, but with subtle silver markings. "This is Olivia West," Alan introduced her, head of Earth's diplomatic corps. Olivia nodded to the delegation. "I hope your journey was comfortable. I understand this must all seem very sudden to you." "That's putting it mildly," Lily replied. "Your world has changed beyond recognition. And yet we are still human," Olivia said with a warm smile. "Just evolved, you might say." As the meeting continued, Lily couldn't shake the feeling that they were being shown only what their hosts wanted them to see. The humans were polite, informative about certain topics, but vague about others. They spoke of technological breakthroughs, social improvements, and peaceful development, but always in general terms. "Why now?" Lily asked again as the meeting drew to a close. "What changed to make you reach out after so long?" Alan and Olivia exchanged a glance. "Because now, Commander," Alan said, his eyes suddenly intense. "We're ready." "Ready for what?" Lily pressed. "To join the galaxy again," Olivia answered smoothly. But this time, on equal footing. As the delegation was shown to their quarters, for the night Lily looked out at the alien yet familiar Earth city. Humans had not just survived their isolation, they had thrived. And something told her that what they had seen so far was just the surface of what humanity had become. "They're hiding something," Greg said quietly, joining her at the window. Lily nodded. "Yes, the question is what? And why did they really invite us here now, after all this time?" Outside, the sun was setting over a world that had been silent for 250 years. But now Earth was speaking again, and Lily couldn't help but wonder what it would say next. The morning sun streamed through the windows of the guest quarters, waking Lily from a restless sleep. Her dreams had been filled with strange images, humans with glowing eyes, buildings that moved, and shadows that seemed to whisper. She shook her head and got ready for the day ahead. The delegation gathered for breakfast in a large room with a view of the city. Food appeared on their plates seemingly from nowhere, fruits and grains that looked familiar, but tasted better than anything Lily had experienced before. "Did you all sleep well?" asked Alan as he entered the room, looking fresh and alert. "The accommodations are excellent," Lily replied diplomatically, though she noticed dark circles under Ben's and Mira's eyes. She wasn't the only one who had slept poorly. "Good. We have a full schedule today," Alan said. "Dr. West will be joining us shortly to begin your official tour of our facilities." Greg leaned closer to Lily and whispered, "I tried to map the building layout last night. My scanner couldn't penetrate the walls." Before Lily could respond, Olivia West entered the room. Today, her gray outfit had blue markings, and her hair was pulled back to reveal delicate silver devices behind her ears. "I hope you're ready to see more of what Earth has become," Olivia said with a smile. "We'll start with our central manufacturing facility." They were led to a transport vehicle, a smooth, windowless pod that hovered above the ground. Once inside, there was no sensation of movement, but when the doors opened again, they were in an entirely different location. The manufacturing facility was unlike anything the delegation had seen before. There were no assembly lines, no workers, operating machinery. Instead, large crystalline structures pulsed with light and objects simply formed within them. Everything from small personal devices to large vehicle components. "Matter conversion technology," Olivia explained. "We can restructure raw materials at the molecular level to create anything we need." "This is impossible," Mira whispered, her scientific mind struggling to accept what she was seeing. "The energy requirements alone would be once prohibitive." "Yes," said a new voice. A tall man with pale skin and dark eyes approached them. "But that was before we mastered efficient energy generation." "This is Peter Morgan, our chief science officer," Olivia introduced him. "What kind of energy source could power something like this?" Mira asked. Peter smiled. "We call it quantum fold energy. It's drawn from the space between dimensions." The tour continued to other facilities. They saw gravity manipulation systems that allowed for effortless construction of massive structures. They visited farms where plants grew at visible rates, producing enough food for millions in spaces the size of small parks. At midday, they were taken to a medical center where patients were being treated without any visible equipment. Doctors simply placed their hands near injuries and the wounds closed before their eyes. "Are they using some kind of nanotechnology?" Ben asked, watching in amazement as a child's broken arm healed in minutes. "In a way," Peter replied. "But it's integrated with something else we discovered during our isolation." "And what would that be?" Lily pressed. Peter exchanged glances with Olivia before answering. "Perhaps it's better to show you after lunch." They ate in a quiet garden at the center of the medical facility. The food was again exceptional, though Lily noticed that their hosts ate very little. After the meal, Alan led them to a secure area of the facility. They passed through several doors that opened without anyone touching them, until they reached a large circular room with a single chair in the center. A man sat in the chair, eyes closed. He was dressed in simple clothing, the first human they had seen not wearing the color-shifting gray outfits. "This is Frank Kelly," Alan introduced him. "Frank is one of our educators." Frank opened his eyes and smiled at the visitors. He looked ordinary. Average height, brown hair showing hints of gray, friendly face with laugh lines around the eyes. "Welcome," he said, standing up. "I understand you have questions about our advancements." "Many," Lily acknowledged. "Your technology seems to defy physical laws as we understand them." Frank nodded. "Because it's not just technology." He held out his hand, palm up. "Watch." At first, nothing happened. Then, slowly, a small flame appeared, hovering just above his palm. It grew larger, changed colors, then vanished. The delegation stepped back in shock. What kind of trick is this? Greg demanded. No trick, Frank replied calmly. He gestured toward a table near the wall. It slid across the floor without being touched, stopping in front of them. Is this some kind of telekinesis? Mira asked, her voice barely above a whisper. We call it the awakening, Frank explained. It began slowly, about 30 years after we isolated ourselves. At first, just a few people showed these abilities, moving small objects, sensing emotions, having visions of distant places. Psychic powers, Ben said flatly. You expect us to believe humans developed psychic powers, Frank smiled. I don't expect you to believe anything without evidence. He closed his eyes briefly. Right now, Commander Hudson is thinking about the implications for Confederation security. Officer Adams is wondering if this is all an elaborate hoax, and Dr. Lopez is already theorizing about genetic mutations that could explain what she's seeing. All three stared at him, stunned by the accuracy of his statement. How many of you can do this? Lily asked finally. Nearly all of us, to varying degrees, Olivia answered. Some, like Frank, have exceptional abilities. Others are more specialized. Healers, communicators, farseers. This is why you isolated yourselves, Lily realized. You were changing. Alan nodded. We needed time to understand what was happening, to learn control. Imagine if these abilities had emerged while we were integrating with the Confederation. The fear, the potential for misuse. So instead you cut yourselves off completely, Lily said. We made a difficult choice, Olivia acknowledged. But we believe it was the right one. And your technology? Mira asked. Is it all based on these abilities? Much of it is enhanced by them, Peter explained. The awakening changed how we understood reality itself. Our technology and our abilities evolved together. Later that evening, back in their quarters, the delegation held a private meeting to discuss what they had learned. I've sent an encrypted report to Confederation Command, Lily told them. They're concerned. Concerned? They should be terrified, Greg argued. We're talking about an entire species with godlike powers. We don't know the limits of their abilities, Mira pointed out. But what they've shown us goes beyond anything in Confederation science. The question remains, Ben said quietly. Why reveal themselves now, after all this time? Lily looked out the window at the gleaming city. That's what worries me. They didn't just invite us here to show off what they've become. There's something else. In her private quarters, Lily couldn't sleep. She stood by the window, watching the night sky when a soft knock came at her door. Opening it, she found Olivia waiting. May I come in? The human diplomat asked. Lily nodded, stepping aside. You have more questions, Olivia said. It wasn't a question. Many, Lily admitted. But one above all others. Why now? Olivia's expression grew serious. The Council of Leaders has decided. Tomorrow you'll learn the real reason we've broken our silence. We needed to show you what we've become first, so you would understand why we had to prepare. Prepare for what? Lily asked, feeling a chill despite the comfortable temperature. For what's coming, Olivia answered simply. What we've been watching approach for the last 50 years. What the Confederation hasn't detected yet. You're talking about a threat, Lily said, understanding dawning. Olivia nodded. A threat to all life in the galaxy. We isolated ourselves to grow stronger, yes, but not just for our sake. She met Lily's eyes directly. We did it for everyone. As Olivia left, Lily turned back to the window, looking up at the stars. Somewhere, out there was a danger so great that an entire species had spent 250 years preparing to face it. Tomorrow, she would learn what it was. Lily woke early, her mind still processing Olivia's words from the night before. A threat to all life in the galaxy. The thought was almost too big to comprehend. After a quick breakfast, Alan arrived to escort the delegation. Today will be different, he explained as they boarded a transport pod. You'll be meeting with Earth's Council of Leaders. I was told we would learn about some kind of threat, Lily said, watching his reaction carefully. Alan nodded. Yes, that's why the Council has requested your presence. The pod descended this time, traveling deep below the surface. When the doors opened, they stepped into a massive underground complex. The walls were lined with screens showing star maps and data streams. People moved with purpose, monitoring equipment and conferring in small groups. Welcome to Earth Central Command, Alan said, the heart of our defense network. He led them through several security checkpoints, each more advanced than the last. Finally, they reached a large circular chamber with a round table at its center. 7 people sat around it, each wearing the same gray uniform, but with different, colored markings. A woman with silver-white hair stood as they entered. Despite appearing to be in her 60s, she moved with the grace of someone much younger. Welcome, representatives of the Galactic Confederation. I am Grace Rodriguez, leader of Earth's Council. After introductions, the delegation was invited to sit. The atmosphere was tense, the human leaders watching them with serious expressions. I'll be direct, Grace began. We've broken our silence not merely to rejoin the galactic community, but because circumstances demand it. We've detected something approaching from beyond the galactic rim, something ancient and hostile that the Confederation doesn't yet know about. She gestured, and the room darkened. A 3-dimensional star map appeared above the table, showing the spiral arms of the Milky Way. At the outer edge, a darkness spread between the stars like ink dropped in water. We call them the Void, said a broad-shouldered man with a closely cropped beard. I'm Jack Porter, military director of Earth. The map zoomed in, showing stars that seemed to dim and then vanish as the darkness passed. Are they a species? Ben asked, leaning forward to study the map. Not as we understand life, Jack replied. They're more like a force. They consume energy in all forms, from stars, from planets, from living beings. How did you detect them? Mira asked. If they're beyond the galactic rim, they should be beyond our most advanced sensors. We developed long-range detection systems specifically to monitor deep space, explained a woman with auburn hair and sharp features. I'm Rita Brown, head of research. We began detecting anomalies approximately 50 years ago. At first, we thought it was equipment malfunction, Rita continued. Stars at the edge of our detection range were disappearing from our scans, not going nova, not dying naturally, just vanishing. We sent unmanned probes, Jack added. What they sent back confirmed our fears. The void doesn't just destroy, it consumes everything, leaving absolute emptiness behind. Grace manipulated the display, showing a timeline. Based on their current trajectory and speed, they will reach Confederation space within 3 years. Earth space in 5, the delegation exchanged stunned looks. If what you're saying is true, Lily said carefully, why hasn't the Confederation detected this threat? Your detection systems don't have the range or sensitivity, Rita explained. We developed ours out of necessity. When we isolated ourselves, we wanted to ensure no threats could approach unnoticed. Greg frowned. Convenient that only you can see this supposed threat. Jack's expression hardened, but Grace raised a hand to calm him. Your skepticism is understandable, she said, which is why we're prepared to share our detection technology with the Confederation. You'll be able to confirm our findings yourselves. She nodded to an aide who handed Lily a small crystal device. This contains the specifications for our deep space detection network, Grace explained. Your scientists can verify everything I've told you. Lily accepted the device, turning it over. In her hands. If this threat is real, why did you wait until now to warn us? We needed to be ready, Jack replied. Not just to deliver a warning, but to offer a solution. Another council member, a lean man with dark skin and gentle eyes, spoke up. I'm Daniel Foster, head of Earth's diplomatic corps. What we're proposing isn't just an alert, it's an alliance. The hologram changed, showing massive ships unlike any Lily had seen before. They seemed to glow from within, their designs organic rather than mechanical. We've built a defensive fleet, Grace explained, and we've developed weapons systems, specifically designed to combat the void, but we can't do this alone. Why help us? Lily asked. the question that had been bothering her since Olivia's revelation. You could have remained hidden, protected yourselves. With your technology and abilities, you might have survived even if the rest of the galaxy fell. The council members exchanged glances. Because despite our differences, despite our isolation, we're still part of this galaxy, Jack said, surprising Lily with the emotion in his voice. We're still guardians of life. Humanity made a choice long ago, Grace added. We withdrew not out of fear or selfishness but to prepare, to become strong enough to face what we suspected was coming. You knew about this threat 250 years ago? Ben asked incredulously. Daniel shook his head. Not specifically, but our first contact with the Confederation showed us glimpses of ancient galactic history, stories of civilizations that vanished without explanation, star systems that became empty without war or natural disaster. We began to suspect something existed beyond our knowledge. So you isolated yourselves to prepare for a threat you only suspected might exist? Mira's voice held both disbelief and admiration. It wasn't just that, Rita said. The awakening was beginning. We needed to understand our own evolution. But yes, defense was always part of our purpose. Grace stood, her presence commanding attention. Now the threat is real, and it's coming. We need the Confederation's resources, your established network of worlds and species. Together we can face the void. Separately, we will all fall. The delegation spent hours reviewing the data Earth had collected. Mira worked closely with Rita, examining the sensor readings. Ben and Greg met with Jack to learn about Earth's defense systems. Lily conferred with Grace and Daniel about diplomatic strategy. By evening, even Greg's skepticism had faded. The evidence was overwhelming. Something was coming exactly as Earth had warned. As they prepared to return to their quarters, Grace pulled Lily aside. There's one more thing you should see, she said quietly. She led Lily to a smaller room off the main command center. Inside, a group of humans sat in a circle, eyes closed in concentration. In the center of their circle, a holographic display showed the darkness at the galaxy's edge, but in more detail than Lily had seen before. These are our far seers, Grace explained. Their abilities allow them to perceive the void directly, beyond what our technology can detect. They can see across such vast distances? Lily asked, amazed. Grace nodded. With amplification technology, yes, but it takes a toll on them. They can only maintain the connection for short periods. As they watched, one of the far seers gasped. Breaking the circle, the hologram flickered and vanished. The others quickly moved to support their colleague, who looked pale and shaken. What happened? Lily asked. It saw them, the exhausted farseer whispered, looking up at Lily with fear in his eyes. And I think it saw us too. Grace's expression grew grave. We may have less time than we thought. The void seems to be accelerating. As they left the room, Lily felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. Earth had revealed its greatest secret, and now the fate of the galaxy might rest on how well she could convince the Confederation of the threat. Earth was silent because we were listening, learning, preparing, Grace said softly as they walked back to the main chamber. Now we must all speak together, and loudly enough to push back the darkness. Lily nodded, understanding at last why humanity had chosen its strange path of isolation. They hadn't been hiding. They had been getting ready for war. 6 months had passed since Commander Lily Hudson's delegation returned to Confederation space with Earth's warning. The initial response had been disbelief and suspicion. Many Confederation leaders questioned humanity's motives, suggesting this might be an elaborate ruse to force the galaxy to accept Earth's return on favorable terms. But when the Confederation scientists used Earth's detection technology to scan the galactic rim themselves, the truth became impossible to deny. The void was real, and it was coming. Lily, now promoted to admiral, stood on the bridge of the Confederation flagship, Unity, watching as another fleet of ships arrived through the newly constructed warp gate. Earth had shared its advanced transportation, technology, allowing ships to move between star systems faster than ever before. That's the last group from the Viridian systems, reported Ben, now her first officer. All 17 species of the Confederation are now represented in the defense fleet. Lily nodded, her gaze shifting to another section of space where Earth's ships were gathered. Unlike the metallic vessels of the Confederation, these ships seemed almost alive, their hulls glowing with internal energy. They moved with impossible grace, their formations changing like flocks of birds. Still hard to believe how quickly things have changed, Ben said, following her gaze. 6 months ago, most people thought humans were either extinct or hiding. Now they're leading the largest combined fleet in galactic history. They had a 250-year head start, Lily reminded him. The communications officer interrupted. Admiral, incoming transmission from Earth Command Ship Defiance. Put it through, Lily ordered. The screen lit up to show Admiral Samantha Powell, commander of Earth's fleet. Her gray uniform now bore golden markings of high rank, and her confident expression showed no trace of fear despite the coming battle. Admiral Hudson, Samantha greeted her. The final preparations are complete. Earth's psychic shield generators are in position around the primary defense line. Understood, Lily replied. Confederation forces are ready to support your fleet. The past 6 months had been a whirlwind of activity. Earth had sent representatives to every major world in the Confederation, sharing knowledge, technology, and defense strategies. Ambassador Ethan Scott had addressed the Confederation Council, presenting evidence of the void that could not be ignored. Some worlds had initially resisted, refusing to believe the threat or to trust humanity after their long isolation. But when the first outer colony world went dark, exactly as Earth had predicted, even the most stubborn skeptics were convinced. Now, the combined forces of Earth and the Confederation waited at the Thalassa system, the point where their calculations showed the void would enter populated space. All ships, battle positions, Lily ordered. The Confederation vessels moved into formation, their crews tense but determined. Admiral, Mira called from her science station. I'm detecting energy fluctuations at the edge of the system. All eyes turned to the main screen. At first there was nothing. Then slowly, the stars at the edge of their view began to dim. It's here, Lily whispered. The darkness spread across space like spilled ink, swallowing light. As it approached, Lily could see that it wasn't solid. It was more like a swarm of countless tiny points of absolute blackness, moving together with horrible purpose. All ships, hold position, she ordered, her voice steady despite her fear. The first line of defense was a series of unmanned sensor platforms created by Earth's scientists. As the void reached them, the platforms activated, sending pulses of energy into the darkness. For a moment, it seemed to work. The darkness paused, swirling around the energy barriers. Then it surged forward, consuming the platforms in seconds. It's adapting, Mira reported, her voice tense. It's learning from each contact. The Confederation ships opened fire, sending energy beams and projectiles into the darkness. But the weapons seemed to have little effect, disappearing into the void without slowing its advance. This isn't working, Ben said, watching the tactical display. Our weapons are just feeding it more energy. Suddenly, a new voice came over the communication system. Confederation fleet, this is Admiral Powell. Fall back to the secondary defense line. Let Earth speak now. The Earth vessels moved forward as the Confederation ships retreated. Their hulls began to glow brighter, pulsing with strange energy patterns. Then as one they fired. The weapons that emerged from the Earth ships weren't energy beams or physical projectiles. They were ribbons of golden light that seemed to cut through the darkness, pushing it back. What are they using? Ben asked in amazement. According to these readings, Mira replied, studying her console, it's some kind of anti-energy. It's not destroying the void. It's creating space where the void cannot exist. For hours the battle raged. The Earth ships moved in impossible formations, their weapons holding the darkness at bay. But the void kept coming, its darkness spreading around the edges of Earth's defenses. They can't hold it alone, Lily realized. Admiral Powell, we're moving to support your flanks. The Confederation ships rejoined the battle, firing conventional weapons at the edges of the void, where Earth's anti-energy weapons had weakened it. Working together, they managed to push the darkness back. But the victory was short-lived. New tendrils of darkness emerged, probing for weaknesses. One found a gap in the defenses and surged through, heading directly for the Unity. Brace for impact, Lily shouted. Before the darkness could reach them, an Earth vessel intercepted it, surrounding itself with golden light. There was a flash, and when it cleared, both the Earth ship and the tendril of darkness were gone. They sacrificed themselves, Ben said softly. Across the battlefield, Earth vessels were taking damage. Their golden light was fading, their formations breaking. Admiral Powell, you need to fall back, Lily urged over the communication link. Not yet, came the strained reply. Our psychics are moving into position. We need to hold the line just a little longer. Aboard the Defiance, Samantha Powell stood at the center of a circle of human psychics. Each wore a device that amplified their abilities, connecting them to thousands of others across the fleet. Begin the convergence, she ordered. Across the Earth fleet, psychics joined their minds together. Their combined consciousness reached out, touching the void directly. They could feel its hunger, its ancient emptiness. It wasn't evil. It simply had always consumed, moving through the universe like a force of nature. But they weren't just sensing it, they were changing it. From the Unity, Lily watched in awe as a wave of golden light spread from the Earth ships, surrounding the darkness. Where the light touched, the void seemed to fold in on itself, shrinking. What's happening? She asked. They're using their psychic abilities, Mira explained, her voice filled with wonder. Somehow they're collapsing the void's structure, forcing it to consume itself. The battle reached its peak. Every Earth psychic, every ship, every weapon focused on a single point. There was a moment of impossible tension, and then the void imploded, collapsing into a single point of darkness that winked out of existence. Silence fell across the battlefield. Then slowly, cheers began to rise from ship to ship. They did it, Ben said in disbelief. They actually did it. Lily let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. No, we did it. Together. In the days that followed, celebrations spread across the galaxy. Earth, once a mystery and potential threat, was now hailed as the savior of all sentient life. The technology and abilities they had developed in isolation became the foundation for a new era of galactic cooperation. 1 month after the battle, at the victory celebration on the Confederation capital world, Admiral Hudson found herself speaking with Admiral Powell. 250 years of silence, Lily remarked, watching representatives from many worlds mingling peacefully. Was it always about this moment? Samantha smiled, her eyes reflecting the stars visible through the dome above them. Not exactly this moment, no. But we knew that someday, humanity would need to speak again. She looked out at the gathered species, all alive because they had stood together. And when we did, we wanted to make sure our voice mattered. As new treaties were signed and a stronger alliance formed, a saying spread throughout the stars. Earth was silent for 250 years, then spoke loud enough to save us all.